And we're live. For everybody tuning in, we're here with Rapp Brewing, Joe Scheibelhut, the head brewer, and of course, to his, I guess on the screen would be the right, Greg Rapp, founder of Rapp Brewing.
Hi,
Yeah,
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Marco.
how's it going? I like that shirt, the Yeast Whisperer.
Thanks. It works in this context.
I'm trying to imagine a TV show like The Dog Whisperer. What it would be like if you were running around talking to your yeast.
Yeah, we play some Barry White music back here to keep our yeast happy. So
That's good.
that's why our fermenters overflow all the time.
Oh man, so a little background. I guess I'm going to talk a little less, and I want you guys to talk a little more. But Rapp Brewing is somewhere in between a few counties near Tampa, central West Florida.
We are, if you draw a line this way through Pinellas County, we are right in the middle of Pinellas County, Florida.
All right. And how long have you been there?
2 years and 2 months.
All right. So for people who haven't been, it's a really cool. What I love about Rapp Brewing is you show up and you're like in a warehouse district, which I think is awesome because it's just about the beer. I can focus on the beer. There's no like distractions around me. There's no like fancy lights. There's no gimmicks. It's just all about the beer. Is there anything purposeful behind kind of the way the brewery inside is set up, at least?
It's all focusing on the beer. It's simply all about the beer.
You can tell with the quality of the beer you guys are producing. I mean, it's award-winning beers. There's some more famous ones than others, and I'm sure everyone's heard about, at least in Florida, has heard about the Goza, the chocolate peanut butter. Is pretty phenomenal. And I love that you guys do a lot of traditional styles. Is there any of those styles that are kind of your favorite go-to styles? The German styles, the Belgian styles.
I like the Munich Dunkel. That's I'm drinking it right now. Actually, I'm drinking a Munich Dunkel. I mixed our Munich Dunkel with our Dunkelweizen. But out of the Munich Dunkel, it's probably one of the better beers in my opinion that we brew. And it's something we don't have on all the time. So during Oktoberfest, like this time of year, we brew the hell out of it, and we go through it quick. And so I'm trying to drink as much as I can right now.
I got the Bavarian Helles. It's a nice, light, easy drinking beer, and it's one of my favorites. Well, they're all my favorite actually.
Yeah, it's like your baby. It's like who was I talking to? I was talking to another brewer the other day that we had the Grovetoberfest, the big festival down here in South Florida. And he's like, I got so tired of everyone asking me, what's my favorite beer? He's like, they're all my beers. They're all my favorites.
Yeah.
So, Greg, you started off, I think I read somewhere in my stalking phase before this interview, that you started off, I guess, winemaking or wanting to make wine.
Yeah, I've been making wine for over 40 years. I'm dating myself here. I made wine and mead and sake for over 40 years.
That's awesome. Does the wine help you? I mean, I kind of got into craft beer through wine first. Kind of led me into some of the higher end German beers and Belgian beers, and then I started kind of transitioning back over to the American craft market. But do you think? I mean, to me, it kind of makes sense that it would, and so maybe I'm asking a dumb question. But has wine helped you kind of understand where you want to go with your beers?
The different flavors, the process, particularly. I mean, I spent my working life as an engineer in software, so I'm very process oriented. So I was making wine for all those years, the fermentation, the racking, the clarification, the bottling, and all that. It kind of naturally led me into making beer. I mean, it's all about the process.
And one thing that's also very unique about the wine beer compare contrast is that a lot of people have this kind of preconception that when you're sitting at a table eating food, you're eating food and drinking wine. And it's something I'm trying to dispel because you go back through history and people sat at the table with beer. farmhouses and rustic cheeses and things like that were eaten with beer. Do you consider the food aspect of when you're coming up with your next beer or trying to recreate an old style?
Yeah, actually, that's an interesting question. We're actually doing a beer pairing with the Urban Brew and Barbecue. What's that? About a week and a half, November 4th, I believe, and we're doing a beer pairing with them. And beers, obviously, as you said, perfect beverage with all kinds of food. Like pizzas and you name it. I mean, it just goes great with all foods.
Sure, it's liquid bread, so it kind of is a form of food, or some way, shape, or form.
Liquid bread. That's what we used to call it. That was our excuse for we're not going to eat carbs. We're just going to drink beer.
We have so many people come in like, yeah, I'm cut out. I didn't have spaghetti for lunch today, so I could come in here and have a couple beers or something, or that, so I can have some beer. So it's always good to know that people are cutting out nutritious food so they can come and have a few beers.
That's amazing. Yeah. They actually say that to people when they're ordering. I can allot one more beer into my schedule today because I didn't eat my bread with my sandwich.
Yeah, I took the bread off, tossed it. I just had lettuce and tomato and bacon today.
Right.
It's a perfect breakfast food.
It's a true BLT with no bread.
That's like going to the movie theater and ordering the extra large, extra butter popcorn and getting a diet soda. Yeah.
So a lot of our recipes, though, Marco. I mean, I guess to answer your question on the flip side of the coin, I mean, we don't necessarily look at our beers when we're brewing them as like, let's brew something to have with this salmon fillet tonight. A lot of times, Greg just walks in and says, let's brew something crazy this week. And so we do it. Like, we need to brew another pumpkin beer because somebody wants to make some soup with our pumpkin beer. And we ran out of pumpkin beer already this year. So
Jeez.
We had sweet potato on the recipe. I just changed to pumpkin beer today because Greg said, guess what? We need more pumpkin beer. So that's happening.
How does that process normally go? I mean, is it the process of choosing what beer you're gonna put up next? Because I guess part of the advantage of brewing on a smaller system like you guys are brewing is you can brew a lot of different styles. And correct me if I'm wrong, but and maybe not distributing like all over the place allows you to be a lot more creative. But so what's the process? I mean, anyone who's walked into when you walk into Rapp Brewing, there's like a chalkboard with like a million. It seems like a million different beers you can try, which I think is awesome too. But what's the process when you're figuring out what the next one of those names on the board is going to be?
Can I start with that? Really, we've got, after 2 years now of being in the business, we've really got a lot of beers that we make on the regular for a lot of people that come in that really want to have the Irish Red or the chocolate peanut butter goza that you talked about. The Munich Dunkel, which we should brew more. It was at the BFBC this year, the second best small batch beer in the state, which is pretty cool. But we've got a lot of beers that people come in for on the regular that if we run out of, they're literally just upset and they will not come back until it's back on, which is unfortunate. So a lot of these beers we're reproducing quite often to keep the beers that really move a lot on tap. But at the same time, we're also trying to always brew something new, exciting, different to bring other people in, or the people that haven't been back for a while, or somebody completely new, a first-time customer, just to say, oh, cool, we got this pumpkin beer, or Greg came up with a smoked maple barley wine, which is phenomenal. That helps drive in new people. So we drew a lot of the same styles that we like to brew that are popular, and at the same time, we're always incorporating new beers just to keep things fresh. And we've just done a small expansion, and that's going to really help us distribute more beers, but it's really going to help us in the tasting room to get a lot more variety out there as well. And so I'm excited about the near future. We just hired a new guy on, and new brewer, and we're just going to really be able to expand our portfolio as far as styles, even more so than we have already.
Yeah, we've gone from 12 fermenters to 22 fermenters to now we have 34 fermenters.
Wow.
We'll be ramping up. We're going to be brewing 12 times a week. We're still small. I'm projecting in the next year producing about 900 barrels of beer, but on a little barrel and a half system behind me.
Right.
It's Well, when we say handcrafted, it means lots of labor.
Oh man, it is, man.
And it's a labor of love.
We're not pressing buttons and waiting for the beer to finish. I mean, everything we do is changing hoses. We don't have hard plumb lines or anything. So all the brewing we do is labor intensive, and in small batches really, I feel like benefit for us compared to the larger breweries. You know, you're on that bigger scale. Maybe you got to sacrifice the ingredients you use a little bit, and the yeast strains especially. And we're so wide open to any yeast strain. I mean, tomorrow we could literally grow up a new yeast culture, like this yeast whisperer will get us a new yeast culture going. And we play with something new and exciting, a different flavor, and totally tweak a different beer and make something that, you know, a lot of the bigger guys couldn't make on their size. So the small for us is such a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll literally sit down and say, okay, what do we need? What do we need to brew to keep the pipeline full? And also we'll brainstorm and go, hey, what haven't we brewed? You know, what do you guys want to brew? And sometimes we come up with some crazy stuff, but it's, you know, part of the advantage and the fun of what we're doing here.
I know you guys like to do beers that are kind of, maybe for lack of a better term, long-lost favorites, or, you know, old German styles and European styles. Is there a specific reason for that? I know, Greg, your great-grandfather, was it, owned a brewery in Germany?
Yeah, my great-grandpa Rudolf Rapp owned a brewery in Moringen, Germany, I believe from 1900 to 1910. I actually found the records online.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, but couldn't find any pictures or anything of the old brewery.
But we do have all of his old recipes, so we brew those like crazy.
That's awesome. I mean, that's so cool. I think it's so important that you stick to, or you have to know as a whole where you've come from as far as brewing is concerned, to know where you're going to go. And I think it's so cool that you guys are placing emphasis on keeping those styles around. I appreciate them. Do you notice that other people come in there and say, what the hell is that name up there?
I mean, the Goza is probably one of our biggest brands, and everybody pronounces it different. We Goza, Goose, Goze, Gooser. I mean, you name it, somebody calls it something different. Probably the hardest beer to pronounce, but probably easily one of our best-selling beers. So,
Right.
But it's an old style that was almost lost until, you know, Greg and Westbrook and some of these guys started kind of rebrewing it, and now it's really gaining a lot of popularity. I was in Asheville over the summer, and Green Man was actually brewing it. The guy, I can't remember the guy's name, Mike something. He just wrote a cool book. I should plug his book, but it's like Brewing Better Home Beer type book. Pretty cool book, and especially brew at Green Man. He said, I brewed this beer. I brewed a Goza, not because I wanted to. He's like, I don't even like the style. He literally told me he brewed it because he had so many people coming and asking him, like, do you guys make a Goza?
No way.
So many people asked him to make this beer that he finally said, all right, I'll make this beer. To me, it's pretty cool because once I told him we're in Florida and this is kind of our best-selling beer, he looked at me like I was a crazy person. Like, how is this your best-selling beer? But it's perfect for Florida, man. The heat, it's got electrolytes in it. It's kind of the Gatorade of beer. So it makes sense for us where if you're up in the mountains in Colorado, probably not going to drink it when it's 34 degrees outside. It's probably not refreshing.
What was the initial response to the Goza? I mean, it's not like you're brewing it yesterday for the first time.
Gosh, I initially brewed that about 6 years ago as a homebrew, and my first impression when I brewed it, it was like, wow, and it just has continued that way. Everybody who tries it is like, wow, you know, what is this, you know, and it's just continued to everybody. Even people that I meet that say that they don't like beer or they don't like sour beers, I say try this, and they're like blown away. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's awesome. I
think there's a big misconception between sour beers and funky beers, like using Brettanomyces for the funk, or a sour, really tart back of the jaw beer. So I think some people try even like Brett beers and consider them a sour and are turned off by that, or other sour styles. And then when you drink the Goza, it's so light, easy drinking, refreshing. It's just like lemonade. So if you like lemonade, you'll like it. If you don't like lemonade, probably not going to like it. But I feel like we do turn a lot of non-sour drinkers into fans of sour beers with the Goza. It's just an easy drinking style.
Right. It's a beautiful beer. I mean, I think I would do it injustice if I describe what it is? You think maybe like in a couple sentences you can describe for people who maybe haven't had it or had this, even had the style, what a goza is?
Well, I basically say it's a sour, salty wheat beer.
Yeah, it's a sour wheat ale with salt and coriander.
Yeah, very light, very refreshing, effervescent. Gosh.
I mean, it's a beautiful beer. It's so crisp. I had it last time I was up there. I bought a growler of it, and we went and ate oysters and had it with oysters, and it was just, oh man, it's amazing. It does have a little bit of tartness, a little sour. The salt comes. It's a beautiful beer. I gotta say, it's one of my favorite beers I've ever had.
Okay.
So to that, but
thanks, Marco.
Now, how many of the other beers you guys are producing regularly came from your great grandfather's recipes?
45%, 46.3%. We just decided on that number. 46.3%.
Yeah. It's like 46.1 maybe.
All right, 48.1. Roughly right in that range. Our fifth generation handed down that he stole from his grandfather. Great grandfather, Daddy Rapp. Probably not. Really not. They're all Greg's recipes. We don't. A lot of people think that like Greg got these recipes from his grandfather. Somebody came in last week like, oh yeah, I understand. Greg got some of these recipes from like his great grandfather, and brewed. I'm like, no, Greg didn't get any of the recipes. Greg made all these recipes himself.
Right. I don't have any recipes from my great grandfather, but we're focusing on beers. Some of the beers we brew are based on beers that would have been brewed in his brewery. It's
right.
In the Baltic region, near the Baltic Sea. So we do a Baltic porter. My mother comes from Dresden, which is near Goslar. So we actually, the Goza, actually, I brewed that beer because, that's from the area that my mom comes from in Germany.
Right. And I know that we're kind of skipping all over the place. I got to rein myself in, but I know that you kind of, you like to take old styles and put your stamp on them, put your take on them. What would you guys consider your take is? Like, is it per style, or is there something that you guys consciously think of every time you're kind of, how can we tweak this to us?
We pretty much we try to nail the style based on the descriptions that we have available. So we try to produce them as true to the information we have that describes the style. So we really don't do.
We don't have a signature. We're not like Jesse putting a little bit of cayenne or red pepper or whatever in his meth. We got our own style. Like, this is how true it is to the style. Let's try to imitate that. So we don't throw a certain grain or a certain hop or anything in every recipe because that's our trademark. We just really go, that's what's in the beer. Let's put it back in the beer and make it as true to the style as we can.
I don't know where I read that. I guess I'm wrong. See, it's the internet, man. You can't believe anything you read on the internet, damn it.
Oh, man, it's all a lie, man. People are gonna watch this video and be like, "Don't believe that. It's on the internet." It's lies, propaganda.
That's the beauty of these conversations that I have on the website. Is that, you know what? It's not like I'm tweaking anything that's being said. That's what it is, man.
Greg, the important thing to remember is that all these recipes came from Greg's great granddaddy.
All right, let's keep it at that.
That's what you need to know.
Right.
Spread the word.
Let's keep it at that.
He's in the universe.
All right, I want to go way back again to homebrewing days.
1905.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, because now I don't know if I have anything correct.
You got him, Joe.
Greg, you started homebrewing 15, 16, 17 years ago? Maybe.
Good.
Yeah, 1905. I got my first homebrew.
Mr. Beer Kit. It was actually made of wood.
Yeah, you were helping your great-great-grandfather in the brewery.
I hauled sacks of malt for him, yeah.
Burlap bags. Deep with grass.
I was actually out there with my scythe threshing the grain in the field.
It's good.
Oh, so
Yeah. Gosh, you have to keep adding a year every year, so it's probably about 15 years.
All right. And like you said, you were in IT. Okay, I'm gonna go through what I know, that I know. Okay. And you had kind of like the Fridays, I think it was, or one day a week you were able to brew.
Yeah, well, working in IT, the pay isn't very good. It's very stressful. So you wind up, having to relieve the stress. So you drink beer, and since the pay is not that good, you can't afford it. So you have to learn to make your own. And my wife bought me a homebrew kit about 15 years ago. Really because she fell in love with Tampa Bay Brewing Company's Old Elephant Foot. And talking to John Doble at the time, said, "Hey, you can brew this stuff." And being a winemaker, I'm like, "Hey, it sounds kind of interesting. Kind of a cool thing to do." So got the ingredients and stuff, and try to brew, basically reproduce the Old Elephant Foot IPA, and was somewhat successful at that.
And it just grew. The love, the passion grew.
Yeah, grew from that. I mean, the thing is, I tell everybody, if you're a home brewer, if you had a significant other, the thing is, brew the beers that they like. So I was brewing the beer that my wife liked, and I also got her involved in the process. So first couple of batches of beer, we bottled the beer. I had my wife helping me bottle the beer, and she said, "Oh my God, this is a pain." And you know what? You got to put it away. And I go, "Yeah." I says, "They have this thing called corny kegs and kegs." And so the next time my third batch of beer was kegged in a corny keg.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like my story, man. That's people, guys that watch this, you gotta take note here. You've got to include your wife and girlfriend in the process.
Oh yeah, I got so much cool equipment. My wife basically says, "Get it. You need that." Yeah. Well, we wound up. I was working for a technology company. They would let us telecommute on Fridays, and being, it's not a whole lot of labor. It's more intellectual type stuff. So while I was thinking about software and systems designs and so on, I'd be on the back porch brewing beer. And I brewed so much beer that we wound up. I built a kegerator, and I had a kegerator with nine taps on it. And about every 2 months, we'd have a party at our house. We call it the Rapp on tap, and invite all our friends and neighbors over, and we'd kill as many kegs as we could, because that way I could make more beer. It's a hobby that really got out of hand.
Is that what led you to start? I think you started. I'm going to say I think you started a homebrew club or something like the Pinellas Urban Brewers Guild.
Yeah. About 4 years ago, I was bringing my beer. There's a new craft beer bar opened up a couple miles from our house called Willard's Tap House. Mm-hmm. That's Blaine and Blair Smith. Blaine is the owner. Blair's his brother. And I bring my homebrew up for them to sample, and they're like, "Oh my God, this stuff is really awesome. This is great beer, good stuff." And Blaine's brother Blair said, "Hey, I'm interested in learning how to brew." And I said, "Well, I just joined a homebrew club up in Dunedin." He goes, "Well, let's start our own club, and we'll have a meeting here." And so he made printed out a sign-up sheet, and I came back 5 days later, and 30 people had signed up to this homebrew club within 5 days at Willard's Tap House. So that was the initial formation of the Pinellas Urban Brewers Guild. Was through that, and we met there, and then we started meeting at Total Wine. And we started going to craft beer events. We typically the club would bring at least a dozen beers to the craft beer events. And for me, I got a lot of great feedback from the craft beer community. Also from some professional brewers, and everybody was, I heard more. So many times people would say, "Your beer's great. Where can I buy it? I'd like to buy it." And I'm like, "Well, I'm just a home brewer." And they're like, "Well, you need to open a brewery."
Right.
we love your beer. We love what you're doing. So, I did.
There you go. And I'm going to get back to something we were just talking about. But Joe, when did you start, and kind of what got you into starting brewing?
Man, honestly, I wasn't thinking about software and stuff like Greg was. I was thinking about girls and cars and God only knows what. And my buddy Dan Graston, oddly enough, is one of the bartenders here. He said, "Let's make some beer." I'm like, "You can do that? I didn't know you could even do that." So I was drinking Miller Lite and crap.
When do you put the alcohol in the liquid?
Keeps you hydrated. But he said, "Make some beer." And I'm like, "I didn't know you could do that." So we made a batch of beer and on the stove or whatever in the house, and then about 6 months or a year went by, and he said, "Let's make another batch of beer." So we were going camping, we made a bunch of beer, took it up to the woods with us, and everybody went camping. Was like, "Man, this is awesome!" So started making more and more beer, and then went to a couple homebrew club meetings at different places in Dunedin, like where Greg was at, and then we ended up, it was closer to us to go to Pub Guild, and met Greg at Pub Guild, but it just kind of came together from there. It's kind of cool.
Cool, yeah. I think these homebrew clubs are incredibly important nowadays. They probably always have been, but now with the growth of the craft beer market, it's giving. It's kind of like a talent show almost for brewers. People come in and people are getting jobs out of these brewers guilds, these homebrewer guilds. I mean, the one we have in Miami here has grown exponentially, and we're getting. I mean, some of the people brewing down here are brewing some fantastic. I mean, really, really good beer. One of the shirts I'm wearing is one of these groups one of these two guys that are brewing some phenomenal beer. Three Sons Brewing. I don't know. They're doing an event up in Tampa, I think, next week.
Yeah,
so,
probably Cajun Cafe.
Cajun Cafe, yeah.
And then there's a ton of it's giving people spotlight and it's education too. I mean, how important, in your opinion, are these homebrewing groups? Because to me, it gives them kind of like a spotlight to maybe find investors who will help them open a brewery. How important was it in your experience to have that homebrewers club around?
I feel like without the homebrew clubs, we wouldn't even be in business almost. I mean, if that hadn't blown up in the last 10 years, all the different homebrewers out there that realize that you can go make your own beer, and if you're watching this video and you realize, like I did 7 years ago, I didn't know you could make your own beer, and you go and try it. I mean, it becomes a hobby that almost like engulfs your life. I mean, we built a walk-in cooler at my buddy's house.
Oh, man.
Literally took over half his house with chest freezers, and we had like 8 chest freezers and a walk-in cooler, and that's all we did. I mean, our free time was literally like get out of work and go make beer. And there's a lot of guys with that same mentality. You don't have to have that mentality. You can just make beer once a month or once every 6 months. But it's such a cool thing to be able. It's an art. It really is an art to be able to make this stuff with your bare hands and drink it and enjoy the fruits of your labor. And I mean, it's pretty amazing. So without those homebrew clubs and without the home brewers, I don't even think there would be craft breweries in the United States today. So they're really, I think, leading the charge for craft beer in the United States and really the world for that matter.
Right.
There's so much creativity out there. You know, when you're a home brewer, you're not hamstrung by a lot of the regulations and stuff. So you can try things that the big breweries can't.
Sure.
And you're making little 5-gallon batches, and I mean we've experienced so many cool and interesting and incredibly creative beers, from these various homebrew clubs in the area. I mean, we have probably about 5 homebrew clubs in the Tampa Bay area here, and it's just incredible going to the craft beer events and trying the beers that these guys and gals are producing.
Yeah, some of the homebrew beers are stuff that it's like I would have never even thought to put those combinations together, So I mean, they're inspiring us as pro brewers, so it's pretty awesome. I mean, honestly, I don't think we'd be where we are today, and especially in the U.S. with the craft beer where it's at without homebrew clubs and home brewers. I mean, that's really what's driving this whole economy of craft beer, if you will.
All right. Now, I guess a lot of the brewers I talk to are not concerned, but the issue they think that a lot of these homebrewers are going to run into is, well, now when you're starting to produce beer on a much larger scale, on a production level, or the ingredients that are being used and the process being used don't necessarily translate. Any experience with that? Is there a recipe that you had as a 5-gallon brewer that all of a sudden you're like, damn, I can't afford to do that thing anymore and be profitable?
Sure. I mean, on our size, it's not so bad because we're a barrel and a half, so we can throw a bunch of fresh fruit at a beer on a homebrew level at 5 gallons, and then at 50 gallons, we can still access that much fruit or spice per se for that beer to be able to kind of replicate the same beer. Now, when you get into 7 barrels, 10 barrels, 30 barrels, and bigger systems, then it becomes really hard to source the ingredients that you need, the raw ingredients. And that's why a lot of these big breweries, unfortunately, have to take kind of shortcuts into their ingredients and maybe buy lesser quality stuff. And that's where we have such an advantage because we're able to still use all those fresh ingredients that we could as a home brewer on such a small scale. Right. But when you do go big, it's just a challenge to do those crazy, exciting, cool beers that a lot of the home brewers are doing. It's just more of a challenge.
Are there any breweries that when you guys were, I guess, making the transition to professional brewing that you kind of looked at as, that's a brewery I would like to model my brewery after?
Ooh, good question.
I mean, I immediately think Tampa Bay Brewing Company for Greg, just because the beers he started brewing were because of his love for like the old elephant foot. So he may not have modeled his brewery after Tampa Bay Brewing Company, but definitely the beer styles he started to make. And I think a lot of that can be said. I mean, I really had a passion for brown ales when I got into craft beer, and I really wanted to make Northern English browns, big nutty brown ales and stuff that are malty. And I still have a big passion for dark beer. So, and a lot of that can even come from European styles like Newcastle. So, I mean, a lot of those beer styles I really enjoyed. I'm sure Greg's got a few that he liked as well.
Well, yeah. I'm just trying to think, when I designed this, what I modeled it after. I guess there's a brewery over in California and San Diego called Hess Brewing. Small scale, they use the similar fermenters that we're using, very small batch. So I think that would be one of the breweries that I kind of use model what I built. To talk to them a little bit about what they were doing, and I borrowed some of their ideas for what we did here.
There you go. And now, we keep talking about small batch and the ability it gives you to use the high-end ingredients and the high, and the real like artisan touch to the beer. Is there ever any intention that you're thinking right now of maybe upsizing the actual brew house, not necessarily just the amount of fermenters that you have in your brewery?
I would love to. I mean, there's certainly beer styles such as the Goza that we could increase production size and easily do larger capacity. We could be brewing 7 times at least the size of the Goza we're brewing now. We brew it so regular and so often that a beer like that, or our stout even, that's it doesn't take a whole ton of different ingredients, but we could be brewing some of our regular beers that we brew a lot on a larger scale, and then still do a lot of fun, cool new beers on our smaller system. But but really, what keeps us unique and what keeps us Rapp Brewing Company is just the fact that we do brew everything on such a small scale and handcrafted scale. So part of the allure is that we are small and it's cool and it's nichey, but if we go big, there's that kind of, maybe people stop coming in and goes, now we're just Sierra Nevada, I mean, hear that kind of stuff, and it breaks your heart because those guys kind of led the way for us. I talk to like hate Sam Adams now because they're kind of like Miller Coors, and it's like, no, you got to love those guys because they're taking craft beer to the next level, and if they hadn't come along, we probably wouldn't even be here today. So, and they brew so many different styles, and so I pick up a fall sampler from them, and I'm blown away every year by the different beers that they're making, and so we could go bigger. It turns some people off, other people it doesn't. Some people don't even know or don't care. I think as long as the quality stays the same, it really makes very little difference. So.
Yeah, our whole focus has always been to explore beer styles. So our growth has been geared towards being able to produce more beers instead of being able to produce more beer. Um, you know, that's really initially the whole goal. I mean, we've got a couple beers that are really getting to be big hits, and I guess at some point we need to think about being able to ramp up production and be able to satisfy the demand out there. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'd love to see that Goza make its way to
to Miami.
a Miami Total Wine or something. That's just me selfishly. Don't change who you are for me, of course. Unless, of course, you want to do that, and then I'll accept it. Don't worry about it.
Marco, if you like, buddy, I'm going to wear high heels and a dress to work tomorrow. I'm brewing that. Say the word, buddy.
There you go, man. Yes, I would like that. I would like that.
All right, we'll send you some pictures.
Yeah, that'll be the front page of the website from now on.
Don't think we won't do it.
Yeah, right?
It's free, I don't know if it's good or bad advertising, but it's free advertising. Oh, man.
Sir?
I don't even remember where I was after that.
Dark.
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer was good. I would love to see a little bit more Goza around, so I don't have to drive 4.5 hours to get it. But whatever. I'll be patient. It's all a matter of time, I guess.
You start talking to distributors for us down there, buddy, and tell us who we should sign with.
Oh man, if we can make that happen.
Let us start making some more beer first. We're close. Like next, like November 1st, we're gonna ramp up stuff.
Now, guys, I love the fact that when I go in there, and like I was telling you beforehand, every time I go to Tampa, I try and make it a visit over to the Rapp Brewing Company. I love seeing that when people get the flights, you see so many different colored beers. Like Greg's saying, you're trying to produce a lot of different beers, a lot of different styles of beers. I think that's the coolest thing in the world. I always get my big Goza and the big goblet, and then I get like the flights for the rest of the time there. It's so cool to see all these styles. Now, I know that was your goal, but I guess going back again, why was that kind of the emphasis versus more beer? Why was it more styles of beer?
He's the man, buddy. Dan Grasson right there. That guy's the man.
Cheers, Dan. Thank you.
Sorry, Mark, I wasn't listening. I was excited because I got a new beer refreshed.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to turn around at this. Hey, can you refill this for me?
What do you got?
Oh. You guys got me beat. Oh. What I was saying is, why was it your goal to make more styles of beer versus I'm going to produce 4 beers and I'm going to produce a ton of it? And is there any reason behind that?
That sounds like a lot of boring work to me.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Crap all day long, Marco. I don't want to make 4 styles all day long.
Hey, but potentially on an economic reason only, I mean, that might make a little more sense.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's a flip side to the coin, and you could make 3 or 4 styles and make so much of it like Walmart that it's all over the country, and everyone would be able to get to drink and enjoy your beer, which is awesome. Or you could make a whole bunch of little styles of beer like we're doing so that the local area, and then hopefully you can branch out a little bit, can sample your beer. And, really that's kind of Greg's deal. He didn't want to go big. He didn't want to be Sam Adams. I'll let you answer.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of the engineer in me. I like to make beer. I like to make beers. I brewed a lot. There were some beer events I would go to as a home brewer, and I'd bring 18 beers with me. So, and people will look at me like you're crazy. So I guess maybe I am a little crazy. So that's I'm bringing it to this venture here, and we're just doing a lot of different beer styles.
The only reason I ask is because I through this site I try and highlight a lot of different. I try and highlight the fact that this industry is made up of a lot of different kinds of characters, right? There's a lot of different kinds of people, and they're all trying to do different things. And like you said earlier, I think it is art. And so the fact that you can get back there in a barrel and a half and brew on the system you're brewing on, and really kind of fine tune every single aspect of that beer, is something that is, people should travel to go enjoy, and it's like the 4.5 hours for me to get to your brewery doesn't really make a difference because the whole time I'm there, I'm kind of like, all right, here we go, getting excited to get there, and so it's like it's highlighting the different approaches to this thing, and I think it also says a lot for the fact that yes, beer is art, and so it's something that people are taking seriously enough to say, you know what, I could potentially make a lot more money if I brewed 4 styles on a bigger system and just shipped beer everywhere. But this is my art, this is my passion, and this is what you guys are tasting every single day when you come into the brewery. So that's, look at that. I just summed it up. I didn't even get a response.
It's like, yes.
Yeah, we don't want to be the restaurant that's known for one or two entrees. We want to have a new and exciting dish every week, so that you keep coming back and something else to, like you said, you drive up here and you're excited to come check out and see what we have on tap, and that's kind of the same thing. We want that for the locals. We want that for the people from out of town. Come in and just what's new on tap. We don't want it to be the same 5 beers every time you show up. Otherwise probably people stop showing up one day, at least in their tasting room. You can buy it at the supermarket all day long, that would be awesome. It would be great to be there, but at the same time, it's changing it up and it's keeping it fresh.
To some extent, do you feel responsible at all for turning people onto these styles as a professional craft brewer nowadays? And right now, especially with the boom.
Oh, absolutely. I would say probably 10% to 20% of the people that come into our tasting room are first timers that their friends have drug them in here to try craft beer. And I like to look at our little venture here, our tasting room, as a catalyst to create and educate people about craft beer and to create and expand the craft beer community. I easily, there's probably 50 people a week that leave here having experienced craft beer for the first time and now enjoying it and understanding what craft beer is.
And that's a cool thing, I think, to be able to say, because, and the fact that you understand that responsibility, because there's some breweries that you go to sometimes, and I'm not going to mention any names, but you go in there and they are kind of, if you don't already know the answer to this, I'm not going to even talk to you. I think it's a completely wrong approach, because you're right. You do that and you are turning off those 50 people a week that have never had a craft beer before to the industry in general. And so thank you for doing that.
I mean, it is really cool. I mean, we get a lot of people in here. Their spouse is not a beer drinker. They'll say, "You have any wine?" And that to me is like the challenge.
Oh yeah.
That's a challenge call. Like, okay, I got somebody here who's not a beer drinker and who's a wine drinker. I am going to find you a beer, that you like. And generally, it'll either be a Berliner with a syrup in it, sure, or a maple wheat bock, or
chocolate peanut butter. You like chocolate and peanut butter? Oh, sure.
Yeah.
You should try this.
You see, even your Berliner. See, a lot of people, I guess, we're doing like the Florida Vice this year down in Florida, and a lot of people are doing Berliners. And they're aging on fruit. You guys are so traditional. You're doing the Berliner with syrup.
That's right.
I mean, there's nobody else doing that.
We're just traditionalists, I guess.
How does the process go when somebody comes in and says, "Do you guys have any red wine around?" How does the process go from taking them to, I'm not going to try anything. I'm going to ask for wine in a brewery, which is pretty like They're screaming like, I don't even want to touch a beer. How do you get them from that into, like, what's the process? Is there a certain line of questioning you already kind of got in mind?
I usually just put a beer in their face. I'll just, as soon as they say they like wine, like, I'm not really a beer drinker, I like wine, straight to the Berliner, throw a little raspberry in there, a couple squirts, some Berliner. They check that out and they go, ooh, that's good, I'll have one of those. And it's pink or something, so that helps. So, I mean, really the beer speaks for itself. We let that, instead of trying to talk somebody into liking beer, which is kind of impossible,
Yeah, we're real liberal about giving. I mean, people come in and they don't know what they want, and so we'll give them 5, 6, 7 samples of beers. They'll run through half of our beers before they pick one.
Money saving tips.
Well, it's all about the consumer and the craft beer crowd and educating people. So I mean, it's we want them to come and have a good experience the different beers. I mean, we got 20 beers on tap. If you can't find a beer, in here that you like, then odds are you really don't like beer.
Right, and thankfully we've got those options. We don't have 4 IPAs on. So if you came in, I mean, really most of our beers tend to be a little more malt forward than they are hoppy. We've got a few IPAs we do. That's about the extent of our hoppy beers. So I almost feel like our beers are more geared towards the novice craft beer drinker, if you will, versus the diehard craft beer drinker who probably really has that craving for some hops or an IPA. But we've got that too, and our IPAs are really more East Coast. They're definitely not the bitter West Coast IPAs. They're very much East Coast, not bitter, very hop flavor, hop aroma, but balanced. So
later hop edition, later hop edition IPAs.
Sure, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love late hop edition IPAs. You get all the flavor and all the complexity of the hops, the hop character, but you're not like peeling the enamel off your teeth while you're drinking the beer.
Yeah, and there's something to be said. I mean, the West Coast IPAs, I love a lot of those styles, man.
Right.
I mean, Sculpin and stuff, I mean, those beers are phenomenal. But for a brand new craft beer drinker, they're going to drink something like that, and unfortunately they're going to go, whoa, it's way too bitter for me. And that's why, thankfully, we've got 19 other styles usually on tap that is going to be much more palatable for them, for a first drinker.
Yeah, so I like the fact there's a couple of things you guys said in there that I kind of want to highlight because this last year with the way that the small breweries like you guys were attacked in Tallahassee, it's all about the consumer. I don't think there's an industry that represents consumer first and small business, small time American product more than the craft beer industry does.
Absolutely.
You guys are hiring locally. You guys are using, I imagine, using as much as possible local product,
Sure.
and combining your. Like, do you guys ever collaborate with other breweries or even other businesses in the area to join forces?
We do and we don't. I mean, we don't do a lot of collaboration beers. If I do, unfortunately, especially with this ramp up we're doing, it's all of our time is spent on our system making our beers. So the time to get away and go collaborate with another brewery is hard to do.
Right.
I'll try to do as much as I can on my days off, which as a pro brewer, when you want to go brew on your time off, that's like being a roofer, and then on your days off, you're going to go fix your friends' roofs, It's the last thing you want to do.
Well, maybe I need to rephrase it, because last time I was there was like a brew bus in front of the brewery. There's a lot of other breweries that are benefiting from you guys being around. A lot of other industries and businesses that are benefiting from you guys being around.
That's the industry, I feel like. I mean, if we don't work together, we wouldn't even have a strong industry that we do. It's all about tying relationships in with other breweries. So somebody comes in here, the closest brewery to us is Paradise or Barley Mow, and we're constantly telling people like, hey, have you been to Barley Mow? Have you been to Paradise? And either they say, yes, we just came from there, or no, where's that at? And Greg put a big map up on the wall that highlights every brewery in the Tampa Bay area. So, I mean, you can easily go over there, and it's got every brewery spelled out and their location on the map. And you can find every brewery in the Tampa Bay area, which to me is the coolest thing ever. What other businesses do you go? You go to McDonald's and they show you where every Burger King and every fast food joint.
That's exactly it. There's a sense of there's a real sense of community and family in this industry.
Yeah.
You guys are always helping each other out, and I think what it is that you guys have an identity. I mean, I go to Rapp and I expect to have traditional styles done really well. Go to Cigar City and I'm going to get some. A really nice IPA and maybe some like crazy, coffee with vanilla and everybody's got their own thing. You got Seventh Son doing their saisons and Brett beers and
awesome.
And so it's such a cool, unique industry. It was really killing me to see Tallahassee trying to break it down because it's such a unique part of the economy here in Florida that we should be building. I mean, look, we lost Stone coming to Florida, for God's sakes. What would that have done to the economy here? I mean, it's
amazing. It would have been amazing.
You know. Now, I want to get into a little bit more about your guys' beers, and then we're going to kind of wrap it up because you guys are there still at the brewery, and you probably
wrap it up.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. I wish I could say I meant that.
You did, Marco. We know you did.
You know what I did? I did. But I'm sure you guys want to go home because you got filling 42. What was it? 40 fermenters all day long. So
I just really need to pee.
You guys just want to.
This is more beer than I ever drink right now.
Here you go.
Oh man, you guys won the best beer Florida competition this year.
Awesome.
Yes.
Right?
Honored.
Yes.
Okay, I'm right. This is the second time I'm right the entire night.
Nailed it, buddy.
We also won it in 1905.
Thanks, great granddaddy Rapp.
No, I'm never gonna live that down. You should make a shirt. Rapp Brewing established 1905.
Yeah.
Not since 1905.
I mess with people all day long, buddy. It's all good. Coming here.
I gotta work with this guy, dude. Marco.
Hey man, it doesn't seem too bad to me. I've worked with much worse in my industry.
Cool.
So what did you guys win the best beer competition with?
BFBC best of show is the Goza. Was our Goza on number 2?
Munich Dunkel.
Munich Dunkel.
So basically,
that's actually got 5 medals, three golds, silver, and a bronze. And the golds was the Munich Dunkel, the Goza, and our Lichtenheiner.
Cool.
We haven't talked about the Lichtenheiner.
No, and we haven't talked about the special little bottle releases either. Any of those coming up anytime soon?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe the anniversary party if I can talk Greg into it.
Oh man.
It'd be a crazy shit show, but it'd be fun.
You can't say shit show on the internet, can you?
It's the internet. Do whatever you want.
Oh, okay.
You can run through it. I interviewed Ryan from Funky Buddha, and when he realized he could cuss, he just started screaming cuss words. So, hey man, I'm all for it. When would that be, man? Because you know what? I think that would be pretty awesome.
I'm down.
That's as far as we're getting.
But yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we have to see.
Time will tell. It's a delicate balance. We're waiting for the beer to be ready. When the beer's ready, it will be released. It's like a fucking dragon. Can't say that.
We're calling it the Teufel, which in Yiddish means the devil, and that beer is a little friggin' devil. It's been giving us all kinds of. It's been giving us hell for about a year.
I'm still not sure why we named Great Granddaddy Rapp's beer Yiddish, because I'm pretty sure he was super German.
Well, my grandfather on my mother's side was Jewish, so.
All right.
There you have it. We'll do a little nod to Baron von Kralik.
But yeah, it's a big barrel aged quad. It dried out more than we thought. She's big. She's almost 13%.
Oh.
Little dangerous.
So that may be the next bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be the next bottle.
It will be the next one.
It's nice and sweet and candy sugar on the nose, and it's dry as a bone.
And we bottle condition all of our beers, and if I can be candid for a moment and let out some Rapp secrets, because we bottle condition and we reintroduce some priming sugar into our beer before we bottle it. That guy is 13% alcohol. That's a lot of alcohol for the yeast to want to re-ferment in the bottle.
I'm whispering like crazy.
Yeah, I'm singing to it at this point. We've surpassed whispering, and we're singing ballads.
I'm actually yelling at it.
Yeah. But it's working. It's just going to take a little more time. So hopefully by early November or by the end of the year, she's ready to go. We'll let that one out of the bag.
Cool. When is the anniversary, anyways?
We don't know.
No.
Anniversary would have been September 1st of this year. That was our 2 years, but we had our Oktoberfest celebration starting. We were ramping up for that stuff, or I'm sorry, Oktoberfest. So we kind of pushed it off. We figured we'd wait till maybe it cools down, and early November we'd go. So we were talking about November 8th for a second year anniversary, and we were just talking about it a little more today. We were going to not do it, but I'm trying to nudge this guy. This guy's not a party man like some of us are, so he'd rather just low-key have people come in, drink a few beers, but I'm like, let's have the universe come in and celebrate.
I'm looking for an excuse to go back up, so, the second that goes up online, I'm there.
Marco, if you don't show up and we announce a party, I'm going to punch you.
I'm going to show up, don't worry about it. And November looks good, I think looks good for me, man, so.
Check your calendar, buddy, the 8th, I will punch you.
You know what, I'm gonna do that right after we're done. So. Oh, that's right around the corner, isn't it?
It is. It's close. It's a couple weeks out. Yeah. So.
Oh, jeez.
But it'll be good. So hopefully we do a little something special, and we're talking about, we've got almost 40 different beer styles we could put on tap right now. So I think it'd be super cool to put all of our offerings on tap, let everybody come in, try everything, and just have a great time. So we'll see. We'll do something like that, or we'll do something low key. And Greg's talking about like customer appreciation, which we need to do. We have so many good people that come in on the regular, and even the people that come in once a year. We just want to support everybody that comes in to support us, because without the craft beer drinkers, we wouldn't even be here. So.
I agree, and Greg, by the way, I think November 8th is a great day.
Oh, damn.
For a party, and I'm putting you on the spot right now because I just checked my calendar and I'm free on November 8th, so.
Nice. Pretty sure we just solidified that with Boss Man. So.
Okay. We'll do it.
All right, there we go.
Nice.
Look at that. I mean, look at that. The power of the internet.
Making things happen, Marco. I love it. Every time I need something done, I'll be like, Marco's going to veto this right now. This is happening.
Yeah, there you go, man. I will mediate disputes. There we go. That's what I'll do.
He says more cinnamon! More cinnamon!
Awesome. Guys, this was a blast. It has already been an hour, and I don't want to take any more of your time because you guys are busy.
Bad at this point.
So, hopefully we just broke the news of a Rapp anniversary party right here in the interview.
Yeah.
But I hope it happens. That'd be awesome. And, guys, I really want to say that, I mean this. I'm happy that there are breweries like Rapp Brewing in Florida. Staying true to what brought you into the industry in the first place. I think it's a lot harder than people give it credit for. Maybe it's not for you, but I think for a lot of people, the distraction to go bigger immediately would be there and just, forget this, I'm doing something different. So to that extent, thank you so much for doing that and being like, being a leader in Florida in that regard. We need more breweries like you in Florida, and I'm happy we could have you around. I'm happy you're a part of the site. I've been drinking your beer for a while now, and I'm looking forward to partying with you guys on the 8th.
Nice.
So, any parting words from you guys? If not, we're done. We're going to bed.
Well, hey, thanks, Marco. This guy's got to go pee.
Just thanks to everybody who's a craft beer supporter. If that crap shows up on the ballots again in the coming year or years, support your local craft brewery, and it keeps us employed, keeps me employed. So thanks for that, and it keeps craft beer on your table. So anything you can do to support your local brewery, go see them. If you're thinking about hitting the store and grabbing a 6-pack of a big brand, that's cool. Support those guys too. But if you want something good, just check out your local brewery, go fill a growler, and we just can't thank everybody enough for drinking craft beer.
Amen. On that note, see you later, guys.
Thanks, Marco. High five, buddy. Bring it in right here. High five.
Yeah.
High five. There it is.